Hello, everybody, and welcome to Love Unlocks live sessions. It's so great to have you again. I can see all the regulars are here. Welcome. It's great to see you guys. And for those who are logging on for the first time, Love Unlocks is an online live stream program where I chat to some awesome people that have had an impact on my life and many other people's lives. And we try to get to those amazing stories of how God's love has unlocked their lives. And it's brought to you by our ministry called Love Key. And Love Key, the focus we have at our ministry is to minister wholeness to families and unity to the body of Christ. Because we really believe that a healthy nation is built upon healthy families. And this is one of the ways that we are trying to bring a message of hope and encouragement and inspiration. And so some of the people that we get on the show, you will know from their own platforms and fame. Others you may not know as well, but that's part of what I think is so cool. Is it's people that I know that have made an impact on my life, and I know many others as well. And I want to bring those stories to you guys. And today we have the privilege of speaking to an amazing man called Cobus van Berg. I worked with him on a couple of on a movie, and we've become friends. I did Mooirivier with their production company called Kaapland Films, and they are an amazing company. They've done some really great work. They are currently they're working on a movie is out of there. It's called Griekwastad that is available on Box Office, and there you can see some pics of me and him and my wife. And him with his beautiful wife Gerdi. And I would like to welcome a producer, a businessman, and a great friend, Cobus van Berg, all the way from Durbanville. Say hello, Cobus. Woo!
Thank you, Heinz. It's indeed a privilege to be at this afternoon, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the chat.
Thank you so much. It's great to have you here. Thank you for making the time. I know that you have to do other things in Kleinmond. I know it's a very busy town. You know, there's lots happening there. But no, I'm kidding. That's one of the places we've had such great kuiers is at your beautiful home there. And I know you have to head back there. But thanks for making time for us. I really appreciate it. I want to know what you are up to right now. I know that you guys produce TV, you produce movies, you've got lodges that are standing empty right now because of the lockdown. What is keeping you busy at the moment?
Yeah, I am actually busier than ever. You know, people say, okay, have you built, how many jigsaw puzzles that you built?
Yeah.
You know, probably catching up on this. You know, I thought, because I collect vintage cars, so I thought, well, okay, I'm going to use this time to spend time on my cars. I haven't touched one of them yet because I haven't had time. And it's basically, in the first, we were on the farm the first 5 weeks of lockdown.
Mm.
And we've got a beautiful farm just outside Oudtshoorn near the Kangaroo Caves.
Nice.
So it was actually not fair. We were not in lockdown because But God blessed us. 2 of my children and my son-in-law were with us. So we had such amazing family time. And the one morning, somebody was started a project where he says he's running 21 kilometers around his house to collect money for people in need. And I thought, well, we have no excuse. We're on a farm. So. Yeah. One morning, myself and my daughter and my son-in-law ran to the Kangaroo Caves and back, hour 21, and we collected a handsome amount for people in need. I mean, because you've got so many people in lockdown who really live from the hand to the mouth, dependent on their wage or their salary, that's just not getting any, So, and then obviously all in that time, we've got 70 people that's working for us. I try to access every fund available, the UIF and all of that, to just try and support the staff.
Sure, it must have been a difficult, time as a business owner, and having that responsibility. I've got a couple of friends who have stores and companies they run that have products that need to go out, but that it can't do that anymore. And I know it's been really difficult. What has your approach been to just trying to keep the boats afloat, the separate ones you're running now?
Well, when I realized, because it took me a week to realize that we might not be able to get foreign tourists into the country before the end of the year and maybe even next year.
Yeah.
So, and there's no way that you can keep on paying 70 staff,
There's no income.
and income. So we realized we had to. I mean, we've got a farm, so we've got land, so we can, because we have a big vegetable patch there. The restaurant on the farm make use of that. So and we were able to make up parcels or hampers with vegetables and stuff. Then I realized, okay, we have to plant. We have to start planting now like never before. But the frustration of the first 3 weeks, you couldn't get seedlings or saplings.
Oh, wow. Of course. Sure.
Frustration levels were so high. But yeah, we managed to plant every bit that we could, that there's enough water for. We've planted, so at least we can feed some of the staff, if nothing else.
That's amazing. What a great idea. And I think that's something that I'm seeing a lot is people's ability to adapt to difficult circumstances. And I think, some people I've seen, they kind of give up, they lose hope, they don't even try, or they just, they're in such a hole mentally maybe that they think there's no hope. But then you see other people actually come alive in a way in times like this, and I think that's great. It also hopefully gives people ideas of how they can make the best out of this situation, and I think that's great. Well done.
The thing is,
sorry.
The thing is, if you allow fear to take hold of you, then you incapacitate. You can't think clearly. You cannot make plans.
Yeah.
Because fear robs you from all your creativity. And
Sure.
I always say, just don't get fearful. Doesn't matter how dark it is. The moment you become fearful, you're numb. You're unable to do or use the talents that God has given you.
That's amazing. Can I ask you a tough question? How do you not fall into that trap of being so fearful that you're stuck?
Yeah, well, it happens, and I mean, the first 3 weeks, I was not like all positive like I'm now. I had the dark days, but I've got a wife. I've got an amazing praying wife. So I can count the days in these. Where are we now? 70 days. I think I can count the days where she was down on my one hand.
Sure.
So she's a praying wife, and that's the thing, to really, really remind yourself, and I'll keep on telling people, if God doesn't come through for us now, it will be the first time.
Yeah.
Because in the past, so many times, I'm a businessman. I've started with nothing. I had no big inheritance, that I could build my businesses on. I had to start from scratch, and God has always, always, always come through. So why would He not do it now?
That's amazing. And you've told us some of those stories of how you've actually lost everything more than once, right?
More than once. I've actually, let's say 2.5 times. I always, it's probably 2.5 times, because the last time was a lot easier and I was a lot more prepared. But let's say twice, I had to start from scratch with nothing, a lot of knowledge, obviously, experience, but literally with nothing,
For people out there that are businessmen, entrepreneurs, thinking of starting something, based on that experience, what advice would you have for them in starting from scratch or starting again after having a failure?
I have forgotten what it feels like to start from scratch, but I can tell you how to start after you've lost everything. You get up as soon as possible, wipe your tears, blow your nose, and be ready for the next thing, whatever that may be, and that's where you have to trust God, because it's unseen. Often there's no plans. In good times, you're sort of like, I wish I can do this and that, and you've always got a lot of plans. And the moment you hit rock bottom, then all those plans are out the window. You can't remember any of those good ideas that you had. So that's to stay focused and look at God and trust Him. There's no other way.
Sure. And that's kind of how this year has been. I think we all had big plans for 2020, and then 2020 had other plans, and it's been adapt or die. It's really been what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. So sorry.
Our backup plan was obviously the movie business. And then soon we realized, okay, that's also not going to happen. We cannot release Griekwastad because it was due to be released on the 5th of June.
Wow.
And then soon we realized, okay, that's not going to happen. I mean, there'll still be a lockdown. So we'll have to find another way. Arnold Vosloo was about to come over. It's his birthday in this month.
Wow.
So he wanted to be here with his birthday. We were planning a sort of a countrywide tour with the movie.
Oh man.
His wife was coming with, so we were going to show her our beautiful country. She hasn't seen a lot of it yet, and he wants us to convince her this is the place to stay. He wants to buy property here.
That's a good plan.
Stay in South Africa for 6 months of the year. So that couldn't happen.
Oh man.
The only thing we could do was to say, okay, let's go straight to TV. And obviously, DSTV, they were very keen. But, obviously, you'd wipe out a whole platform of income. That's not there anymore.
Just for people that don't know how the movie industry works, I think this is important for people to know, because I've been part of a project that you guys did, and I heard this talk of the importance of the first weekend. Can you maybe, just for those who don't know how the business works, just explain the importance of that, and how, because then they will maybe realize how big it was that you couldn't do that for Griekwastad.
Yeah, so the first, when you release a movie into theaters, the opening weekend is the most important 2-3 days of that movie's life, because that determines how long the cinemas will keep it on circuit, and and what marketing will be spent. So if it's a bad opening weekend, they sort of already, the writing is on the wall. It's not going to fly. They're not going to spend more print and marketing on it, and there's very little word of mouth. So yeah, that is always, people all often say, no, we'll go and watch it. Please watch it the opening weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have to support local films, and that's the best way we can support local films, is by going the first weekend, as much of us as possible. I remember when we launched Mooirivier, we had a double whammy of negativity, because it ended up being the same weekend as 50 Shades of Grey releasing, and there was power outages. Yeah, we had load shedding.
The first weekend was the biggest load shedding this country has ever seen.
Yeah. And
34 of the, I think, 52 malls had no electricity. So and then the second weekend, they all tried to make up their losses, and 50 Shades of Grey came out. And what did they do? They put 50 Shades of Grey in all the cinemas in a complex, to make up the losses.
Yes.
And by the third week, they started to take it off, and they said, no, it's not making money, So then you had that fight of, it could not make money. It had no opportunity to make
it was just, the timing was so that's how you see it's so important for that to happen. That's a tough industry, man. I think people, being in the music industry, having dabbled a little bit in the movie industry and TV, every time you step into a different industry and you actually see what happens behind the scenes, you go, oh, okay, I actually had no idea. And you have a new respect for the risk and the hard work and the difficult things behind it. Because, it's easy to look at an industry that you don't know from the outside and go, oh, well, they should do this and they should do that. And, it can't be that hard. And then, but when you get into it, because you've been a businessman, you've got lodges that you run, you went into the film industry, and now you're apparently a farmer as well. So you're not afraid of trying your hand at different things. What is that something you've always just done, like doen wat jou hand vind om te doen, dis so of daai Afrikaanse sê ding, or is it something that kind of came with experience?
Yeah, great minds think alike. I exactly wanted to use those same words. Doen wat jou hand vind om te doen, because that's often what I tell people when they say, okay, they've lost their business. I said, okay, tell me about, where you are at now, and let's try and identify an opportunity, that can spark, and maybe that's not it, but it can lead you across a path, that will lead you to something else that you actually never thought of, and that's you have to think out the box, and I know it's easier said than done, but I really, really talk from experience when I say, okay, We're down and out. What's next? I've got no money left. I don't have money for food for this week. So now is time to trust God and think out of the box, and you look at opportunities just in a complete different way.
And I can attest to that because we had to do that as well. I have mentioned this before, so for those who haven't heard it, sorry for repeating the story, but I think it's relevant. We also went into this lockdown. My wife and I, a big part of what she does, and obviously mostly what I do, has to do with people gathering. And when they can't gather, suddenly I didn't have any events, any shows. Everything had to be cancelled or postponed. And it was a big shock. And we were also, for 2 weeks, we ran around like, what are we going to do? Freaking out. And then we had a moment where we were like, okay, this is not constructive. This is going to be our reality for a while. So what are we going to do? And we did what you said now. We prayed, asked for wisdom. And then, same thing happened that has happened before in our lives. You get that gentle whisper of God just going, what do you have that I can multiply? It's the bread and the fish principle. Yeah. And we looked around and we made some plans. We had some access to gear and stuff. And, I didn't do what I do full time, but I've dabbled, in video production and stuff like that. And we put my wife's online course and that stuff together. And then we launched a special, and that has been carrying us, that whole side of the business. And I've been doing other stuff, and it's just, you have to adapt. And thank God that He has blessed that and helped us. But it starts with, like you say, pick yourself up, dry off your eyes, and say, okay, God, what do I do now? And then I think the big thing then is to listen and to be obedient. That's been a pattern we've seen is very, very successful. So, yeah, beautiful. I would love to find out a bit more about your beautiful wife and your kids. Can you tell us, when you think of Gerdi, what's the first word that pops into your mind? And then I want you to do the same for your kids as well.
Well, Gerdi is selfless. She's the most selfless person I know. Other people always come first. Her husband and her children always come first. She will do things that she hates just because she knows.
Sure.
Which is sometimes a problem. Sometimes I actually want her to be more selfish, but I mean, she cannot be that.
Wow, you want to protect her from herself, actually.
Exactly. She give her last dime away. She will give her last bit of time away. So she's the most selfless person that I know.
Wow, amazing. She also wrote a book, I think she brought out last year or the year before.
We're busy with her second one now that she started in lockdown. Yeah, Jy Kan Verander, and it did very well, and I think it changed a lot of lives. A lot of prayer groups that use it as their study, their study book.
Awesome.
And it really did well, and I'm so proud of her. And so she's busy with the second one now. There's obviously areas that she wants to sort of put a lot more focus on in from book one. So I don't know exactly when she will be finished with it. She's, as we speak, I mean, today is a busy day for her. She also online still see clients, for counseling. And she's been busy, At one stage, I said to her, okay, you're the breadwinner again. That's just the way it is.
I know that feeling. That's amazing. It's awesome to have a wife like that is, loves to be productive, helping people at the same time. It's amazing. Yeah. And I can say from my experience that she's an amazing cook. Oh my word. The food she makes is ridiculous.
She will not agree with you, but thank you. She feels that cooking is not one of her strengths. So whenever we invite her, she wants me to cook, So,
okay.
But I think she can cook.
Yeah, she can, definitely. And your children, you've got twins?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got Christian and Lorraine. They're twins. They're 26. Christian today, as we sit here 7 years ago, he was in a quad bike accident where his leg was vergrijs. Wat is vergrijs in Engels?
Severely damaged is what I can think of right now, but
Yeah, it actually turned around the axle of the. It was crushed. It was crushed. It
yo.
turned around the axle of this flippant quad bike,
Mm.
and so he was flown in from a farm on Victoria West to Cape Town, and apparently, well, not apparently, but if bone is not covered by tissue for longer than 11 hours, it actually dies. You cannot revive it again. So they pushed him into theater on the 11th hour, physically.
Yeah.
Literally on the 11th hour. But that became a great testimony, because for months it was sort of like they're going to amputate the leg, they're going to, maybe we've got a fighting chance. But God has changed that or turned that around so beautifully. He used that as a big testimony whenever he speaks to people. I mean, churches and so have invited him. And when he got married 3 years ago, him and his best man did a flash mob dance for the bride.
That was so cool. Yeah.
And I think it already had 6 million views on YouTube.
Yeah, it went viral, sure.
So, and then he could use that to say, okay, but guys, there's a backstory to this, where God has just amazingly, came through for him and healed that leg. And so I mean, good. That's for another day how it happened, because it was physically impossible, but it happened.
Mm.
So, yeah, and Lorraine, his twin sister, they're complete opposites. A harder worker. I mean, again, now we spent 7 weeks in lockdown. And, I have never seen a harder worker than Lorraine, in terms of like, she will give not 100%, she'll give 200%.
Sure.
She, after matric, she went to France for a year. And, I mean, she's got a story, that there's one for the books, actually, what happened to her. But eventually she ended up with one of the directors of the Chanel cosmetics company. Well, it's not only cosmetics, but Chanel is and he then said, okay, but once you've finished your studies, please come back and come and do a core internal, be an intern at Chanel for another year.
Yeah.
Which then did, and it really launched her into a career in South Africa. And at that point, I was sort of very skeptical, and I said, okay, well, I know how this will turn out. You will not come back, you will go, and I know how it works. You'll enjoy it, and then they will offer you a job, and then you'll say, it's just for another year, Dad. Let's just just ride this wave out, and then in that year you'll meet a Frenchman, and then it's. So fortunately, it didn't happen that way.
Okay.
Back after that year, and yeah, she's working in Cape Town. And then youngest is Llewellyn. He's part of our story. How God came through for us this time. When lockdown started, he's studying industrial engineering. His second year on Stellenbosch, and. Well, when it started, they only started with online classes, I think 3 weeks into lockdown. So the first 3 weeks, he had literally nothing to do. So he then registered for a course online to help him to write an algorithm for Forex trading. Mm. So, I mean, like he started like early in the morning, and you had to really like, get him away from the laptop at night when we light the fire to say, okay, come and help now, because he was on this app, like you cannot believe it. Eventually he started running virtual money, and it sparked my interest. And listen, I'm even though I'm, an accountant, I'm a right brainer. So, to introduce me to stocks and stuff like that, it's just not my field of interest. So when he started with this Forex, I had, I mean, he sort of forced me to take an interest in it. And it was very interesting to see how he's developing it, building in stop losses and that sort of thing. And then eventually I said, wow, but this is actually interesting. And then, I started investigating, but where can I do this sort of in reality? And that's what I'm doing now. Until the lodge is open, I'm trading in Forex.
Wow.
And it's so much fun. And I think I'm busy making up my salary, So
wow, that's amazing.
that app that he started, or algorithm that he started writing. I'm not using that, but it inspired me because he says it's a 2-3 year development, and I can see why. Because now that I run it parallel to what's happening in the real world, I can see, every now and again he takes a knock on his, and and then obviously he bolts in what's needed to make sure that doesn't happen. But it's a science in its own, and it's a whole new world that opened to me.
Sure, that's amazing. I love it. And then when it comes to your, okay, I'm going to ask that a bit later. First, I would love to. One of the main reasons for this program is to hear people's stories of how God unlocked their lives. And I know from my own experience that moment when you move from knowing about God to knowing Him personally, there's something amazing that happens. And I would love to just hear your story about how that happened for you.
Yes, I was my first year university when that happened, and thank God that it happened then, because I probably would have been a mess if it didn't happen then. Because I lived, the year after that, I moved to Hillbrow.
Wow.
No, not the year after that. When I finished my studies at Potch, I moved to Hillbrow. And I worked in Johannesburg, and if I wasn't saved, back in the day, Hillbrow was the vibrant, sort of what's the word I'm looking for? The epicenter of fun and probably drugs and sex and what have you. It was not the rundown slumps that is today. It was It was like nightclubs and that sort of thing. And because I was saved, I obviously looked at everything in a different. I didn't not live, definitely not, but I looked at everything from a different point of view. And so that year was probably the year where because when you just saved, you've got your first love is so tremendous, and the passion that you have, and especially if you're that young. I mean, 21. How old was I? 21, 22. You're so passionate about God and how He's changed your life and what He's doing and the revelations. I mean, I grew up in a Christian home, but it was sort of like you go to church if you feel like it, and you pray. At dinner when you feel like it, and that's it. I've never actually, like later on, yes, but like in my years growing up, I've never seen my parents praying or reading the Bible really, so obviously I had to sort of reinvent my own way of serving God, and
sorry, Cobus, can you tell us that you say there was this moment when you were 21? What actually happened for that shift to take place?
It was a girlfriend.
That's amazing. Okay.
She took me to church because we knew one another from school, and then she got saved, and we actually broke up. But we sort of still had connected from time to time. And then she found me and said, "Listen, I want to reconnect." And and then we reconnected, and the next step was, okay, well, you also now coming with us to church. And that very night, that very first night, and maybe afterwards I thought about it. Was it to please her? But it was not. I was so sincere, because God spoke to me in such an amazing way, and
sure.
And even like when I was in standard 7, I sort of for the first time at the KJA. Gave my heart to God, but it was sort of like, probably lasted for 2 months, and it was all over. But then God made a promise that, and I always remember that I shall nooit weer uit sy hand uit laat gaan, he'll never let you out of His sight again,
Yeah.
And that night, I reminded myself, God reminded me of those words. I'll never allow you to go out of my sight ever again. And I thought, okay, well, God, I'm back. And since then, I've never had, it was since then, and I was like probably 21, 22 at the time. I've been serving God, and He's revealed Himself so many times to me. in our industry, so often you get to meet atheists, and I always maintain I don't have that amount of faith,
Yeah.
nothing, I don't have that, I really take my hats off to say, okay, I don't have that faith. So God is actually, and people often say it's a crutch. Yeah, it's a crutch when you need it to be a crutch. It's everything that you always need and everything that you always want and everything that makes you what you are. So if it's a crutch, then I'm fine. Then let it be.
Sure. At what point did you and Gerdi meet? Um, Obviously, it was after you were saved, I'm guessing. And was she saved as well? And then you guys met and explain to us how that happened, how you guys fell in love.
For me, it was almost like love at the first sight.
Aww.
I went to Campus Crusade breakfast the one morning in Vienna. So it was sort of like, and I think Danny Jordan was the guest speaker, giving his life testimony, and I went to this Campus Crusade. I mean, everything. I mean, I cannot tell you how radical I was. I got rid of all my 7 singles. I got rid of, everything that...
Brandy CDs.
Sort of like, on hindsight, yes, but at that point in time, I always say, at that point in time, that's what I felt God was asking from. I was okay doing it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was completely over the top. Doesn't matter. That's what I needed at that point. So and I went to, like, every weekend was sort of like, okay, what gospel show can I go to? What sermon can I go to? Whatever. So that morning was a. So I actually also went with an ex-girlfriend. We were just friends. We sort of broke up, but we stayed friends. And she wanted to try again, so we went. And then Gerdi and her parents were there, and she introduced me and say, okay, this is a friend from varsity. And I thought, oh my word, I like it very much, And but then only a month later, I really sort of like got to know her, and then it was quick. I mean, like from that time, at 6 months later, we were married.
Whoa, that's amazing.
I was involved in a ministry in White River, Elion Ministries, Francois de Toy.
Yeah.
So they had a ministry, a youth ministry. So I used to go there over weekends from Vanderbijl Park, where I lived, where I grew up. So so then the second time I met Gary, I said, okay, I want you to go to White River with me for the weekend. And and we went, and it was sort of like we hardly knew one another. It was sort of like I phoned her and said, listen, I actually had to get hold of her. I had to find the Hatfield pastor's wife, because I then, the second time I saw her with a friend that I knew she was in Hatfield Church. So I found the Hatfield pastor's wife, and I said, listen, there's a girl, and I described her in your church, because I couldn't remember her name, because difficult name. But and I didn't want to ask my friend, because it was too obvious that, I'm not interested anymore, and I'm interested in this girl. And so Gerdi, I said, that's the one. So she gave me her number, but then phoned Gerdi to say, listen, this guy is going to phone. It's not your cup of tea, but I got.
Oh no! Gave her a heads up. Oh man.
So we invited. They were obviously invited to our wedding. So, and I used that in my speech that.
Have
to. Cup of tea there,
You have to. Oh, that's brilliant. I love it. Sweet revenge.
And I remember Gerdi and I could, like, the first couple of months, we could talk about nothing else than God's grace and what He's done in our lives.
Sure.
And how He has changed us, and it was just. So I think we've laid a foundation there that foundation will be there forever and ever and ever and ever. In terms of our relationship and how we view one another.
That's awesome. For us, we're very passionate about marriage, family. Really believe it's God's plan for a nation, for the world, and that's why I wanted to chat to you, because we've been so blessed by chatting to you guys about marriage about raising children. And so with that foundation of knowing Jesus and your wife knowing Jesus, you guys meeting, how did you, looking back on your marriage, what are the maybe 3-4 main things you can tell younger married couples today, or maybe even people that are engaged, that you would say these are like golden rules to try and live by, to have foundations for your marriage? What would you say about that?
I probably learned the most from my wife, in terms of, how tuned in are you to one another. If I want to do something, and she's like that. When she wants to do something, her first thought will, but what will I think about it? What will I say?
Sure.
And I think we've sort of like, I think we good at that, where we consider one another all the time, where you don't take things for granted. And I'm the guilty one here that will sometimes still sort of like not always take it into consideration. But I think in general, in the bigger scheme of things, that's our number one thing to do, is always to consider one another.
So good.
And to because if you don't have that, that's a lack of respect. And that's a sort of like, you can easily kill, extinguish that little fire of love by just disregard me all the time, Once won't do it, twice won't do it, maybe a 3 times, the third time will be okay. But before you know, the flame is dead because you've disregarded one another so many times, And I'm also, because I'm a choleric type of personality, I'll fly into a thing and not always consider people's feelings,
Yeah.
And so you have to be tuned in on that all the time, to say, okay, I know what my weaknesses are, so I constantly work on my weaknesses and to make sure that and she also knows it, and she knows my heart, and to know that, so to know one another, I think is the second most important thing, to really know my heart. Because if you know my heart, then even if I say a harsh word, you will know I don't mean it. So make effort to get to know one another, and that doesn't mean it gives me the right, to use harsh words or whatever.
Yeah.
But at least, if we can start off by really, really knowing one another, it'll make that part a lot easier. I can honestly say we're probably in 10 weeks now, we haven't had one argument in 10 weeks.
That's amazing.
And we're 24/7 in one another's company.
That's amazing.
And so, but it's to be tuned in, whenever, so often I'm absent-minded, and she'll walk in and say something, and I hear, but I don't. So I don't. So it easily ignite a spark an argument.
Yeah.
But I think because we know one another, we respect one another, it doesn't, and it's so great. It's so great. It is so often people, men joke and say, well, I have to go home now, and I actually don't want to, and and there's lots of husband-wife jokes. The greatest place for me is to be home with my wife,
Awesome.
it's, to me, the most amazing thing is to take her with, and to make her part of my life. It's not, she doesn't enjoy the movies. It's not her thing. It's too, what's the word? It's too superficial. She's not, she will rather speak to the person that is not a celebrity than the celebrity person,
Yeah.
Because to her, that is more real. Okay, she's also, she's a good judge of character. So, but so to take her with me, to make her part of my world, that is the biggest joy in my life, and vice versa. When she, I'm not as good as she is. Again, when she wrote her book, her biggest thing was, what do I think? And so it's getting to know one another, and then obviously, our children is a big catalyst, and we also know that the children, we cannot allow the children to be the glue that's keeping our marriage together.
Amen. So good. Wow.
2 of them have already left, so they will leave. So when they leave, we must still that
Be
same
strong.
strong be there, be as strong. We can't then say, well, we've got nothing in common anymore. We must make sure we have something in common all the time.
That's so good. Wow.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. We've got a question from Jenny. She says, how soon after Cobus got married did the twins arrive?
5 years.
5 years. And
we had an amazing 5-year honeymoon where we really, we saw this country. We did a lot of camping and hikes. Gerdi was never a hiker, and that's again, she hated hiking, like om 'n rugtak te pak en te gaan hike.
Yeah.
She fell in love with it after the first time we did it, and I sort of forced her, but she said, okay, I will go and do it.
She was open to the idea. That's amazing. She was
open to the idea, and we had amazing friends. And, when you're so young, you must, and I tell my children as well, now, before you have children, live life.
Yeah.
When you have children, it changes.
Absolutely.
Never have that opportunity to be unattached.
And how long are you guys married now?
This year is 31 years.
Wow. That's amazing. That deserves an applause. Thank you so much. That's well done. Dit wil gedoen wees deesdae hoor. That's amazing. Sure.
Oh.
Prys die Here vir julle. So the other thing that I really valued in conversations we've had is how you explained how you purposefully created moments for your children, and then specifically the a rite of passage moment for each of them, and then how looking back for you and for them it's been such a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share with us what you guys did and what the fruit of that has been.
And I'm telling you, the fruit, I want to write a book about that one day. So,
you should.
I think Christians have, we throw the baby, wat is die baba met die badwater?
Yeah.
In a lot of the Jewish customs and valuable stuff that God gave them. One of that being the bar mitzvah. So bar mitzvah, obviously the Jews have their traditions in the way they do it and all of that. We don't have to do it like that, We started off by having sort of a Shabbat on a Friday night, sort of like not similar, and it's not, it's not to sort of like copy them and say, okay, we'll get some favor from God by doing it. Nothing to do with that, but just to create a moment where you really sit around the dining room table and be thoughtful of one another. And by saying that is where you give every child the opportunity to speak his mind, to pray for him. And since from a very, very young age, we would pray for our children, for their spouses, for their finances, for their careers.
So good.
Like from a very, very young, they were sort of like from that I can remember, us as a family, we've been doing that. We've neglected it over the last couple of years, but the children are also bigger now, and
the foundations were laid. Yeah,
and they hopefully are doing their own. And then the second thing that I believe that we've done right is to, at the age of 13, sort of do a bar mitzvah for them. Now they don't call it in Messianic Jews don't call it a bar mitzvah. They call it a bar baraka or a bar baraka for boy and a girl. So, and all it is just to acknowledge, or give a child the opportunity to say, I am now taking control of my life. I've now taken the foundations or the foundations that and mom and dad that you've built. I now acknowledge that these foundations have given me what I need to take my first step into adulthood. So the Jews, what they do is basically almost bigger than a wedding. They spend a lot of money. It's the fit, the gemeste. It's a big function, and everybody that ever had input in those children's lives are invited, and their friends are invited, and and then it's so what we did we for the twins we had the function together. So it's basically to release the child from childhood into adulthood. So we little ritual where we said, okay, beforehand it was obviously everybody came dressed. It's a big thing. I mean, we send out invites, and then each of the children had to sort of stood on the side. We divided the crowd into two: the men one side, the women one side, and then the mother, as sort of the nurturer, will send the child into the world. So the child would physically walk from the women across the hall. I mean, like 2-3 meters. We would put sort of a rope in the middle, so we step over the rope, the rope or the lint, lint or what?
Ribbon, yeah,
a ribbon, and then go to the men, and then the women will first bless the child and say, and acknowledge that that it was their purpose to nurture the child and to lay foundation and to send him out in the world and bless him. Okay, and then they will be welcomed into adulthood, and then the child will give a speech where he sort of explains what God means to him, how he sees his role as Christian, and so they actually give a speech. And then the one thing that I underestimated, the Jews had a ritual, which we also did. We physically put the child on a chair, and we lifted the chair up in the air, and I then said, "Dit is my geliefde kind en wie ek wel behaag het."
Sure.
All three of my children say that was the biggest moment in their lives.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So, and Heinz, that, call it ritual. I mean, because some people are sort of like, no, that to them sounds a bit weird. But I think what we've done there in the spirit, none of our children has ever sort of gone into funny things and liquor and drugs and this and that. And I mean, we never had teenager problems. My oldest children are both married to the most amazing people serving the Lord.
So good.
The houses they come from are healthy Christian homes, and it's something that, I mean, I always feel judgmental by saying it. What if it doesn't happen to you? I just thank God for His grace.
Yes.
That it happened to our children the way I really, really wanted to happen for my children. When my daughter got married last year on the farm where we were in lockdown now, at the age of 13, I put a ring on a finger as sort of a token of her purity.
Sure.
And because the Bible says if a man comes and steals from your daughter, he actually steals from you as the father.
Yeah.
Without the blessing of the father.
Sure.
So the idea of that ring was to say this is a token of your purity, and there's also a token that until I've given you over to a man, you belong to me. So on her wedding day, I obviously then took off the ring off her finger, and my son-in-law beforehand asked me, can I please give the ring to him because he wants to keep it and put it on his daughter's finger one day.
Wow, that's so special. Sure.
That was so special, but what's amazing, I mean, I did it. It was no big deal. I took the ring off, I gave it to him, and and I blessed them. I really at the reception, I blessed their sex life, and I really sort of like, I mean, they have my blessing. I want the best sex life ever.
Awesome.
She doesn't belong to me anymore. She belongs to you.
Yeah.
Head of the home, and it's a new home, but she comes with a foundation, but what happens? One of the guys that led the worship at the wedding, he saw that, and I never met him because there were so many people. And then one day I read on Facebook, somebody actually forwarded to me. This guy said he was at this wedding, where this father took this ring off the bride's finger, and that made such a big impression on him, and it will stay with him for the rest of his life. So what I'm saying, never underestimate the actions that you do you're with God behind it.
Sure. I love that. It's so good. And I know that when you talk about these things, there are people that can go, oh, that's legalism or that's ritual or whatever. And I'm also very aware of when things can become, man-made rules that you just do for the sake of doing them. But when I hear you speak and I see the fruit, then I have to go, wow, there's something about the way that it's done. And if what you said to your son, you're my son who I love, and you're my beloved son, like the same way God said that about Jesus when he was baptized, that what that does is it speaks identity, and it's lays a foundation. And I mean, you could have sat around a table and said it to him, and it would have had an impact, obviously. But the fact that there was, a celebration coupled with it, that
Publicly announced.
yes, and
Publicly announced, yeah.
that people that love them were a part of it, and that even before that, you had the foundation of having each Friday night, blessing them, praying with them. It's all such a beautiful picture, and I'm excited to do the same with my 3 boys and now my daughter. It's inspiring me, and I think that's such a beautiful way. And what I like about it is that what I'm hearing is that you guys purposefully encouraged relationship with your children from a young age and cultivated it, and it built into this beautiful thing. I mean, guys, if you see them with their kids, it's just amazing. The reason I asked them, listen, what did you do, is because I look at the fruits of their kids and I'm like, I want my kids to be like that. And people so often negatively speak about, tieners, in the teenage years, they're going to be horrible, or wait till they're teenagers. And they're speaking death and negativity over that period. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's probably one of the biggest truths that I took from our conversations, is that, we can think the way the world does, or we can think the way God thinks and align with what he wants. And that's been such a blessing to me. And I just want to honor you and thank you for that, and the wisdom that you guys bring. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that about you.
And the thing is to make time, like from a young age, and even now with them being adults. What we do is we make times, we set apart weekends where you all either go away, together and spend time you don't invite any other people, you as a family with obviously your son and daughter-in-law, because they're now part of the family.
Yeah.
And you really speak into one another's lives, and you acknowledge one another, and to cultivate and build that relationship, because there's nothing that can replace that.
Sure. That's so good. Wow. Cobus, I really appreciate you. And you're awesome. I wanna just as a quick ad break, ask you guys to please support the film that's out right now, Griekwastad. Go and watch it. It's on Box Office. Is there any other platform they can watch it on?
Box Office, and if you don't have DSTV, you can just go to the Box Office website, and you don't have to be a subscriber to watch it.
Oh, great. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. And then as we end off, I'd love for you to, for those listening and tuning in, to just pray for the marriages and the children and the families, and just bless them. And then I will end off with a prayer as well.
Right. Thank you, Lord, that you have given us our marriages, and that there is no worldly way in which we can conduct our marriages. Thank you, Lord, that I can ask you today to bless every marriage of everyone listening to this talk, Lord, that you will really sort of give us an understanding of what you had in mind when you invented marriages, Father. Yes. That you will make each of the spouses now listening so aware of one another and your will for that marriage, Lord. And Lord, that you will use that knowledge and that wisdom to impart in our children, Lord, to really know that the children are the product of that marriage, Father, and that we can't neglect the way we impart our knowledge and the way we love them, and they're precious to them, Lord. Lord, I bless every child of each of these couples here today, Lord, that you will really not allow any child not to fulfill the full purpose that you had in mind when that child was born, Father. Lord, it's such a privilege to live and to see our children fulfilling their dreams and become that blueprint that you had in mind. Jesus was crucified, and when Jesus was born, and for each of us, you had a blueprint of exactly what you had in mind, Lord.
Yes,
And
Lord.
I really pray and speak that each of our children will become exactly that blueprint without any deviation.
Sure. Amen.
That in Jesus' name, amen.
Awesome. Lord, I thank you for Cobus, Gerdi, their awesome children, and their family that's growing. I thank you that you bless them, strengthen them, and guide them. Lord, I also bless for his businesses, that even in this time where it seems like things are difficult, and I thank you for the grace that you've given him, the ideas, the wisdom, but I also thank you, Lord, that you will bless their businesses and that they will grow from strength to strength and glory to glory, and even do better than they could ever have imagined when this lockdown starts to lift and things start to come back to some kind of normal, that there will be so much fruit and so much blessing upon it, and that they can even employ more people, help more people, and reach more people with what they do. I thank you, Lord, that you continue to give him wisdom, and I thank you that this word, this wisdom, will go far and wide and bless many people. And my heart is, Lord, that more of us as South African married couples and homes will heed this advice and live according to your will for our marriages and our children. I thank you that in Jesus' name. Amen and amen. Cobus, ek waardeer jou. Jy's amazing. Mag jy 'n wonderlike naweek hê, and send our love and appreciation to your wife and kids, and good luck with Griekwastad and all the other projects that you are busy with. May it all be blessed. Thank you so much for your time today.
Dear, keep well, donkey.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today and for being with us. What a privilege to chat to Cobus. Tomorrow and the rest of the week, we have some amazing people. Tomorrow, I've got this awesome couple that are going to phone in from Raleigh, North Carolina. They are Kirk and Kelly Metty, friends of ours that live in the States. They've got an amazing, amazing story of marriage, family, and we've learned so much from them that I want them to teach you as well the things, the nuggets, the gold nuggets of wisdom that they've shared with us, to impart that with you as well. So please join us again tomorrow at 1, and you can check on the Facebook page for the other guests that are coming the rest of the week. But we will be here 1 p.m. 1 p.m. each day on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. Thank you so much for your support. Please share this. Please get more people to join us on these chats, and let us know what you think. Thank you for everyone who logged on and all your comments. I appreciate it. I see them. I read them, and we are so thankful for you. You're awesome. Remember to go watch Griekwastad and other local films, and when the lockdown is done and you can go to the cinema again, please make sure you support them in those opening weekends. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful day.